Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. Thank you guys for being here. I hope you guys are doing well. In today's video, I'd like to talk about this topic and answer the question, do foreigners pay more than the locals in the Philippines? Now, the sad reality is yes, this is true. Foreigners do end up paying more than the locals in the Philippines. But I do want to say this, a lot of this happens in the metropolitan areas of the country, at least based on our experiences. When my husband visited the country, a lot of our negative experience, in fact, almost all of them, happened when we were in Manila. So there are places in the Philippines, especially metropolitan areas, who are very notorious when it comes to practices like this, rampant scammers everywhere. So you have to pay attention to those. They also call this the skin tax. I'm not sure if you're familiar with that term. Very much similar to what they call the gringo tax in Mexico and Colombia. So what is that exactly? So if they see a foreigner, especially if you're a white foreigner, a cano, a fam, whatever term they call you, Joe, they have this expectation that you have money, they're out to get you. Now, I don't want to get you an anxiety while you are out vacationing, but I just want to give you a heads up. Not everybody's out to get you, but there's a lot of people who will take advantage because you are a foreigner and they know that you don't know how what they call this in the Philippines. You don't know how the kalakaran is. I'm gonna have to take a look at what that means, kalakaran. So they know that you don't know any better. So that's probably the actual, definition of it. You don't know any better, so they take advantage. They take advantage of that. So yes, for some expats, for some foreigners, that is just the cost of doing business in the Philippines. And a lot of the times, especially if they're vacationing, they're having a good time, they don't really care. They're like, I'm okay to pay a little extra. I'm fine with that. Now, it's one thing to give a tip, and it's another thing to like be charged double or triple than what you should be paying for. Okay, so for those who think that's okay, I mean, the problem is you're just allowing people to take advantage of you, and you're also creating this population of getting used to that oh, they're foreigners, so they're completely fine with with being taken advantage of. So that's the thing, you really shouldn't tolerate this kind of behavior. And for some foreigners who are settling in the Philippines, retiring in the Philippines, they also think it's okay to pay a little extra because the overall cost of living is low anyway. So that more than makes up for it. Again, it's one thing to give a tip, 15-20% or even 25% tip, or maybe even 30, but to be charged double than what you should pay for, or triple, especially if that's very much intentional, they're out to really charge you more than what you should be paying for, we shouldn't tolerate that. In fact, more people should actually share their experiences, because it's good to get people informed. We need to get that out there to expose that type of behavior, because it has become a habit for some people. All right, I'm not saying all, okay? I'm just putting us out there, because there's one thing that I've noticed. The moment you start talking about something that's not very nice, I guess, that could be negative, people think, oh, you're just bashing this. I'm not bashing, okay? Of course. In fact, talking about this can be embarrassing, because I didn't know this thing existed until my husband visited the country, and I thought, wow, I didn't know this was such a thing. This was so foreign to me, and actually very embarrassing. In fact, many occasions I did not even tell my husband while he was there that's what's happening, because I was just too embarrassed to tell him, like, oh, these people are trying to scam you and they want me to be on it. Okay, all right, so I'm gonna share stories just to give you a little bit more of context on what things you might end up paying more than the locals. So let's talk about the first one, the taxi fare. This is a big scam in the Philippines. I call this a scam. Everybody knows those taxi. A lot of these taxi drivers are scammers. I'm just gonna put this out there. That out there. A lot of people are gonna get mad, but you know what? We've taken the taxi several times when we were in Manila, and there was one positive experience. Every other single one of these experiences were negative. It's just so sad. And it's sad because actually I had an uncle, he's not with us now, but he was a taxi driver, and he wasn't like that. In fact, he talked about that a couple of times, that some people are really bad. But anyways, so in one of our experiences, the only positive experiences. What I've noticed is that that may have been the big difference. The driver of that taxi was the actual operator of this company. He said he owned about five, cars. And it just so happened that one of his driver that day was out sick. So he's covering for that driver. So this ride from the airport to the hotel was very good. Everything was on the meter. We did not pay any more than what we should have paid for. He was so nice, helped us with our luggage. It was a good experience. That taxi driver was like great, great guy. Now every other experiences after that was negative, unfortunately. So one time we were at this place. It was early morning. This was actually when we came back from the province to Manila, and my husband was about to leave the country. So we were in this what do you call this bus terminal early in the morning, early in the morning. As soon as we were about out there looking for a taxi driver, this group of taxi drivers where they all waited in this one spot where you see all the taxi driver. The other side, there's tricycle drivers, but on this part there's a lot of taxi drivers. They saw us. Of course, they saw my tall husband who was a foreigner, and they congregated. And I don't know what happened. I was like, what's going on? This got me nervous because I kind of already have an idea what's going to happen. But they all agreed that nobody is supposed to give us a ride unless we pay this X amount. Now, the distance from this bus terminal to the airport is about how long? If there was traffic, let's say maybe 20 minutes. It was that close. In fact, if it was during the daytime, I would have taken the jeepney if we didn't have all this luggage, but we had luggages with us. So, anyways, so they all agreed, they all congregated and agreed that we will take you, one of us will take you, whoever is next in line, because they have that schedule. And they're like, if you pay 2,000 pesos. I kid you not. I was like, I almost had a heart attack. I said 2,000 pesos. I mean, from the airport to the hotel, which probably like way farther, like the distance was way, like it probably took us like 30, 35 minutes or maybe even 40 minutes. We paid like 200 something pesos from this place, which is literally like 15 minutes. 2,000? And I was like, what? I was like, really? I mean, even thinking about this now, it makes me like, what? You want us to pay 2,000 pesos? I was like, oh my goodness, that's too much. That's not even, that's like, how many percent is that? 1,000% upcharge. So I was like, I was expecting to pay. I know I was gonna pay more. That's the thing. I already was expecting this. And I thought we're gonna probably end up paying 500 pesos for this short ride. But 2,000 was a little like pushing it. I was like, wow, I'm like, why are you guys charging so much? And they said like, well, nobody's gonna take you unless you agree to that price. And I said, why is it so expensive? In fact, we could just put this on the meter. Why are you charging me a flat rate and it's a really, really, really expensive flat rate? And they're like, this is the reasoning on this one. And this one just really um, blew it out of the park for me. I was just like, wow, this is so bad. And I was like, I don't know what I'm gonna tell him. Like, should I just tell my husband or my fiance then? Or they want to charge us like 1,000% more than we should be charged because you're a foreigner? Like, I'm just so embarrassed to even say that. So they're saying, well, this was around October of that year. And they said, well, it's almost Christmas. Plus, I don't see a ring on your finger. So it looks like you're not married to him yet. So why do you care so much? It's not your money. That was the reasoning. And I was like, not only you want me to like pay more, you want me to be on this. Like you want me to scam this guy for you. I'm like, wow. I don't even know what to say while I'm telling you this story. I was just so shocked. And I'm just like, I'm not gonna pay 2,000 pesos for a 15-minute ride or maybe a 20-minute ride. That's just too much. I'm not. And they're like, well, nobody's gonna take you. You just have to, I don't know, call someone, like maybe a relative to give you a ride because we're not going to take you. So I was like, okay, fine. I'm not paying that. And I'm not going to be on board with this. Like, he just basically like, you know what? It's almost Christmas. Think of it as a Christmas gift to us. He's a foreigner. He's got money. Plus, you're not even married to him. Why do you care? And I'm like, wow. Wow. Okay, so I went back to my husband and said, we may have to wait because none of them want to take us. And he was like, why? And I'm like, oh, I'd really hate to have to explain this because I'm embarrassed to tell them, like, because these guys are scammers and they're scamming you. So anyways, I was just like, let's just wait a little bit. And he was like, okay, I'll go use the bathroom, blah, blah. He didn't really know the whole story at that point. For some reason, one of the taxi drivers separated. He left. He separated himself from the group and he turned around kind of sneakily. I don't know. He parked his taxi somewhere and he went and talked to me in like secret. He's like, I'll take you guys for 1,200 pesos. And I said, that's still so much. That's still so much. Like I was expecting to pay, more, but not this much. But he was like, I'll take you guys for 1,000, 200. Yeah, you're saving like 800 pesos. I was like, wow, okay, I'm saving. All right. And so this guy was really nice though. That was the biggest difference. It's like, I know it's too much. I apologize. I have family at home. I still think it's wrong. It doesn't matter what his situation, charging someone too much than what they should be paying for is wrong. It doesn't change the narrative. But I was like, you know what, just the fact that you're not as blatantly entitled like those other guys, and we don't really have a choice at this point. So I was like, okay, 1,200. And he said, we have to leave in secret because if they saw me taking you guys, I'm gonna get in trouble. So we had to do this like I was telling my husband, oh, you know what, we're gonna have to go this way instead of that way. So he literally picked us up at the back of this terminal where you're not supposed to. So yes, and then they saw us leaving and I can see like they were mad at him. Like I'm like, I guess you're not going back there, you're gonna have to go back home. And he was like, yeah, they're mad because I betrayed them. And I was like, that's terrible. Bad experience. So that was the taxi thing. And there's so many other negative stories out there that you will find. It's really bad. I don't know what the government is doing when it comes to regulating this thing because these people doing this type of things should be punished. All right, another thing that you might end up paying more than the locals is I have a note here because I'm starting to like, I start talking and then I get lost, the tour guides. Unless, of course, this tour guide is someone you personally know, a lot of that stuff is going to be, you're going to get charged more. That's now, of course, we did not hire a tour guide, so I don't have a story for this. But another story, and this one is another ride, and it's kind of similar to a tour guide, I would say. When we were in Manila, there's this thing called kalesa. A kalesa is a two-wheeled horse-drawn carriage. It's a carriage. It's a horse and buggy, is that what you call it? But it's nice, obviously. And it's a traditional modus of transportation in the Philippines back in the day. And there is this kind of a tour called a 30-minute ride in the historic walled area within the city of Manila called Intramuros. And I thought, I'd like to, experience that with my husband. And normally, as far as what I've seen now, okay, to 2024, that 30-minute ride on a carriage around this walled city. This was a Spanish walled city. This is another story. But anyways, you can take that tour. It's a nice place. You could look around. I've been there once. But normally right now in 2024, at least what I saw online, normally that costs around 350 to 500 pesos for that 30-minute ride. So you're just kind of getting a tour on a carriage and kind of sweet, kind of romantic. I thought we'll go ahead and experience it. Again, we were in the sidewalk in that area where there's a lot of those kalesa, the carriage, and then the guy saw us and I said, would like to take a ride, give us a tour. And he was like, oh yeah, the 30-minute tour. I said yes. And I have the expectation I'm going to be paying this X amount of money, again according to what it is right now, 2024. Normally it costs 350 to 500 pesos for 30 minutes. Now if that has increased, let me know in the comment section if you're a Filipino and you're watching this. But as far as what I saw online, that's the current cost. Now this guy just flat out told me, and this was 2 decades ago, he was like, okay, 1,500 pesos. And I was like, what? Like my friend and I paid this X amount like just a couple of weeks ago. Why are you charging so much? And he just gave me this angry look. He was like, why are you such a Scrooge? And he was like, why does it matter? You're not the one paying for it. That foreigner, that Kano is paying for it. Why do you care so much about his money? And I was like, I'm not supposed to care. I'm supposed to just let you scam him in front of me. And I'm like, no. I'm like, you are bad. That's what I said. You're bad. And he was like, he started cursing at me. And I was like, what is this? What's going on? I was just so appalled, to be very honest. Didn't think this was a thing. And then, yeah. And I told him, never mind. We don't need your service. You can go, you can leave. And he started cursing me. And he was like, you care too much. It's not even your money. And I was like, and my husband was like, oh, what's going on? Why is he screaming? And I was like, nah, not sure, because he can get away with scamming you. Okay, bad experience, right? So a lot of this happens. So the tour guides, you gotta be careful who you pick. If you need a tour guide when you visit the country, make sure you pick one that's mostly affiliated with the hotel you're staying, and you already have that set price even before, you see this person, because a lot of times a lot of the scamming happens because there's really not like a set price where you can see. Like, it's not like going to a mall and you can see that everything is tagged, everything has a barcode and you see the price. They can't haggle with you, or you can't haggle vice versa. So yes, that happened to us. Another thing that you might end up paying more than the locals is the souvenir shops. A lot of the times, a lot of the souvenir shops are like by the roads, and again, they don't really have tags. So they could be charging 300 pesos to a Filipino, and then you come along, you're a foreigner, oh, 500. You don't know any better, and you think, oh, this is so cheap, because you're calculating it in dollars. You're like, oh yeah, that's a couple of dollars, no problem, that's cheap. Again, taking advantage. I It doesn't happen to everyone, okay? I just want to put it out there, but there's a lot of people that really do take advantage. So another thing that you might end up paying for more as a foreigner is the accommodation, whether that's a cheap motel or rent, or your landlord, whatever. Now I mentioned cheap motel because I had a friend that shared this story. And these people are not foreigners, okay? They're both a Filipino couple, but the man happens to be an overseas Filipino worker. So the lady picked up her boyfriend during that time, picked him up at the airport, and they had some sort of emergency that one of them had to, use the bathroom. And in the Philippines, there's not a lot of bathrooms everywhere. So this person, they had to find a place, and they said, well, let's just go to, to a hotel. There, a lot of the places that they went to are booked. So they found this little motel, and they went there. And as soon as they saw the attendant saw that this man was carrying luggage, he was like, oh, okay, here you go. They saw the opportunity to upcharge. Why? Because they do that not just to foreigners nowadays, even to overseas Filipino workers. They see you're carrying a luggage, they think, oh, they're balikbayan, meaning you're coming from another country. They got money. Now they can charge you more. Sad reality, sad reality. Okay, another thing that you could be paying more as a foreigner is buying land or buying a property. Now, this can happen anywhere, not just in the city, but even in the provinces. One story I can share is that when we were in this one church, our church was looking for a land to purchase to put in a church. And of course, this is going to be funded by the missionary, the mother church, which is in Texas. And as soon as we already know the price of this land per square meter, but as soon as they found out that it's going to be paid for by the American missionary, they doubled the price. And we were just all like, dude, like, you can't do that. Like, you already told us this is the price. But they're like, oh, you're not paying for it. It's the American, right? What is the difference? But they're like, well, the American can afford it. So we ended up backing out, the church ended up backing out of that deal because there's nothing written yet. Everything was verbal. That is the problem. So we ended up backing out because they were willing to sell it to the Filipino missionaries for this X amount. And then they found out that it's going to be paid for the American missionaries. They doubled the price. And we were just like, wow, it's... So those are some of the things that you might end up paying more, than the locals as a foreigner. And I'm sharing these experiences, I'm sharing the stories because I want to expose this, because this is not right. Again, it is one thing to pay a tip, and it's another to be charged double. And some of the experiences I've had, again, a lot of them happen in Manila. I was so shocked. I didn't think that they happened in real life. I thought those are things that you only hear in stories and maybe, some shows, but, like documentaries. But apparently it happens. It's more common than you think. And nowadays, if you watch Tulfo, you will find that more and more stories will come up like that. So those are the things that you should pay attention to. And actually, those things shouldn't be tolerated. In fact, I hope and pray that the government would, actually impose, or what do you call this, would punish these people that do this. But unfortunately, even that is another story because there's a lot of corruption in the country. So that's another video to talk about. But those are some of the experiences that I could share with you to answer that question, that yes, foreigners do end up paying more than the locals in the Philippines. Not all the time, not everywhere, but there are certain places. I hope you like this video. If you have, please, if you have enjoyed watching this video, please like and subscribe. Thank you guys for watching. See you on my next vlog. Bye.